I don't know where to start on this one. I honestly don't. Not only, this was just a crazy weekend of college football all the way around. I do these videos every Sunday morning for the last several years or whatever. I cannot remember a Sunday morning where it was this hard for me to narrow down the list. I try to pick 4 teams per Sunday to talk about in this Your Season Is Over video, but my God. I mean, literally at every time slot yesterday, when it was about time for those slots of games to be ending, you were flipping channels like a madman because there were so many upsets and so many people were losing. It had you scratching your head, and the SEC is in the toilet for the most part. And I mean, the group of 5 teams are beating Power 5. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And I don't remember a weekend of college football, and we still got 2 games left, one tonight, one tomorrow. But I don't remember a weekend where it was just this many. Well, honestly, this many teams' season just came to a crashing halt in 1 week. And I don't think it's ever happened week 1. This is unbelievable. You've literally got a dozen or so teams whose season is over before the calendar hit September. I mean, this is just alarming. This video would be 2 hours long if I covered them all, but per usual, I mean, you guys know, I sit out here from 9 in the morning when college game day comes on till 2 in the morning when the Pac-12 games go off. Last night, it was Southern Cal and Fresno State. And I take my copious notes. Yeah, because I know all of you aren't afforded the luxury of being able to sit around and watch college football for 16, 17 hours straight on Saturday. So Uncle Lou takes one for the team and does that for you. Jeez. Oregon. Man, listen. This was a hard one for me to decide on because I still don't know about Oregon. I was not very high on Auburn heading into this season, okay? I wasn't. At most, I thought, had them as an 8-win team. But I had them beating you. So, one of those 8 wins was against you, and they got it. And it was a close game. I mean, it did come down to the end. I mean, but the issue is, like, Bo Nix played like garbage. Was he less than 50% completions or right at 50, whatever it was? I mean, he didn't play good. Yes, he had that hero play at the end, which in reality was a terrible decision. He should not have thrown that ball. He's very, very lucky it didn't get intercepted. But they were already in field goal range there, and a field goal would have won the game. In reality, that was a terrible decision by Bo Nix to throw that ball. But, the difference sometimes between hero and goat, literal goat, like a scapegoat, is razor thin. And in this case, Bo Nix came out on the winning side. So, I mean, hats off to Auburn for getting a good, hard-fought, close win. But the reality is, for Oregon, the Pac-12's reputation is just in the toilet. It is what it is. I talked about this all offseason. It's hard to imagine a 1-loss Pac-12 team making a playoff. I said that all offseason. I can't change my mind now just because you only lost to Auburn by 6 points or whatever the hell it ended up being. It's just going to be really, really hard for you now, and that was Oregon's hopes and expectations for this year. Win the Pac-12 and make the college football playoff. I don't think it's happening. First of all, I don't think you're winning your next 11 games straight. I don't think that's happening at all. You're going to lose at least 1. Hell, you may lose 2 more and finish at 9-3. But I can see you going 10-2. I didn't even have you pick to win the division, to be fair. So I still don't think that's happening. So obviously, I think you'll lose another game or 2. But I mean, your season is over. I feel bad for Justin Herbert. He came back, senior year to give it one more shot or whatever. And like I mentioned before the calendar even hit September, the Quacks might as well just pack it in. It's season over for the Ducks. It just is what it is. Only thing worth paying attention to Oregon now the rest of the season really is can Justin Herbert continue to play at a high level to maintain his draft stock, which is currently, second quarterback taken in the draft probably. and to see what kind of uniforms Oregon's going to wear. I mean, that's really been the only bright spot about Oregon for the majority of their existence. But I mean, I don't have any hate for Oregon, but I mean, the reality is you drop this game again. Here we go. Another Pac-12 team losing another marquee game to the SEC in a day where the SEC really took a hit. So how good of a loss? This may feel like a good loss now, but look around at the SEC yesterday. If Auburn ends up going 8-4, the reputation of the SEC took a huge hit yesterday. So if Auburn ends up going 8-4, this isn't going to look like a very good loss. When you consider the overall sort of reputation that the SEC has after the disaster they put on the field yesterday in most cases. So I'm sorry, Oregon, your season is over. It just is what it is. I'm sorry. Like I said, we'll continue to keep up with your uniforms, but that's honestly about it. South Carolina, my God, you're not making a bowl game. I'm sorry. Don't worry, there's another team that falls into this category too, but you're not making a bowl game. You had one of the hardest schedules in all of college football this season. You knew that. You admitted it. Most South Carolina fans knew there was a handful of games they had no chance of winning. You know, Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia. Some of them thought they were going to win some, two, or all of those games. Those people were delusional. You know, you've been talking about how you beat Alabama the last time you played, and it was 8 years ago. You know, you're talking about, you know, you bring Feaster in, Jake Bentley, blah, blah, blah. Jake Bentley, it's just, hello, same Jake Bentley. What, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions? Is that what it was? I think it did. I write it down. I really hope I did. I needed to. Did I do two? Yeah, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So listen, been saying for 3 years, Jake Bentley is a turnover machine. He's an interception waiting to happen. He's Brett Favre without the upside. Brett Favre, one of the all-time great quarterbacks in NFL history, but led the league, or I think he's the career leader in interceptions, right? But with him, you had to go with the bad because there was a whole lot of good. Ain't a whole lot of good with Jake Bentley, Jack. But like Aaron Rodgers, like Brett Favre, Jake Bentley has never seen a receiver that he thought was covered, ever. Jake Bentley thinks every receiver running down the field is wide open every single time, no matter how tight or how good the coverage is or how small the window is. Jake Bentley thinks he can get the ball into a tight space with his noodle arm, and time after time after time after time for 4 years straight, he's been proven that he cannot do that. It's just too many interceptions, too many turnovers for this guy. It continued yesterday. You lost to a terrible, I repeat, terrible North Carolina team, okay? 3 wins last year. Mac Brown, I said, what's Matt Brown going to do? About the same thing Les Miles will do. Be good for 1 or 2 wins. Not going to come in there and turn water into wine. I mean, this guy ain't Helen Keller with the, he's no miracle worker. That roster is pitiful, okay? And they beat you. North Carolina. Man, and the bad news is, like I said, when you look at your schedule, you needed this win. This was one of the easier games on your schedule. This was one of the easier games on your schedule. You needed this win to get bowl eligible, in my opinion. I don't see it happening now. I mean, I can rattle off a list of losses for you that are coming down the pike. Obviously, Georgia, Bama, Clemson. That puts you at a total of 4 losses because North Carolina, right? Texas A&M, that's 5 losses. Are you telling me, South Carolina fan, that you think you can run the table with your remaining games? That means you got to beat Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mizzou, Vandy. That's not, none of that, about half of that ain't happening. So not only are you not making a bowl game now, you're obviously way worse than I thought you were and most people thought you were. I had you winning some of those games I just named. You may be, this could be a 3 or 4 win season. Now that would be worst case scenario, even still with the loss to North Carolina. But 0 chance of making a bowl game. So, listen, did South Carolina have realistic expectations of winning the SEC or the East or making a playoff? No. So that's not why your season is over. But with the schedule you had, everyone, including me, that had any sense said if South Carolina can just make a bowl game, I think you have to consider this a successful season. I defended Muschamp in terms of, you had some people saying, well, if they only win 5 games, he should be fired. No. If they only win 5 games, he should not be fired given that schedule. If you win 3 or 4, though, you might have to consider it. Will Muschamp has won more games in his first 3 years at South Carolina than any other coach in South Carolina history, but that loss yesterday was unacceptable. unacceptable. North Carolina's not a good team. South Carolina, you're not making a bowl game. I don't know what you're playing for the rest of this season right now. I mean, I guess you can try to play spoiler by pretending that you have a chance to beat either Clemson, Alabama, or Georgia, but none of those things are happening. So see you next offseason, I guess. I don't know. Florida State, my God. And I'm going to repeat what I said in the reaction video I made after they lost yesterday. This is worse for the fans than it is for the team because the fans' delusion level on Florida State is absolutely through the roof. Now, I get it. You won a national title back in 2013. You've been a really good / great program for about the last 30 years. But the reality is anybody with a set of working eyeballs who knew anything at all about college football could watch the product Florida State has put on the field, not just last year, but the last 2 years, and see the direction you were heading. And then after watching last year, you go 5-7 under Willie Taggart. It was abundantly clear and painfully obvious to anybody that was paying attention that Willie Taggart just did not know what the hell he was doing. And what has he ever done to get this job at Florida State? Nothing. He was at South Florida for a couple of years and had some okay seasons. He was at Oregon for 1 year and had a bad season. He's not done anything. It was, I don't understand why he got the job to start with, but the guy is in over his head. He done jumped in the deep end, and he can't swim, and he's got no swimmies on. This guy is sinking and sinking fast, and the delusion with Florida State fans was just unbelievable. It just really was in the offseason. I mean, I talked good about Florida State in the offseason in terms of there's no way they're going to be as bad as they were last year in spite of Willie Taggart. They've just too much talent on that team to win 5 games 2 years in a row. But they're not going to win 10-plus games. They're just not going to do that with Willie Taggart. Boy, they jumped on me in the comment section, those Florida State fans. Oh, we're going 10-2, 11-1 at the worst. We might not be able to beat Clemson or whatever excuses you were making. But, I didn't know what I was talking about. I've never seen a football game. What's this Georgia fan doing running his mouth about Florida State? Hey, Georgia ain't won a title since 1980. Hey, you ain't beat Boise State since yesterday. Okay, so, and that's what I don't understand either. When I give an opinion on a team, I got no hate for Florida State. This guy just hates Florida State. Why? Why would I hate Florida State? We beat you the last time we played. We don't ever play you. Why would I hate Florida State? My Mrs. Lou graduated undergrad from there. Why would I hate? I don't hate Florida State, okay? I just look at what's going on there and shake my head. I can see Willie Taggart's no good. But nope, y'all all in the comment section with the 1980. Listen, 1980, Georgia could have won their last national title in 1880. You still lost to Boise State in 2019. So it just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, Florida State, you're in the trash can yet again. Now, the saving grace for Florida State is that they're in the ACC, and there is about 8 6 and 7 win teams in the ACC, and I think the possibility still exists for Florida State to beat enough of those 6 and 7 win teams to make a bowl game. But it's not a guarantee at this point, and you lost to a group of 5 team. And listen, I've already seen the Florida State. Boise State's a legitimate program. I mean, Boise State is not the program they were 10 years ago when they were beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl and that. That head coach is at Washington now. More on that in a minute. We'll talk about Washington in a minute, but that's not the same Boise State that was beating the big boys 10 years ago, okay? Boise State got absolutely drugged by Oklahoma State last year, okay? That tells you the level that you're at right now, and so based on what the fans told me when I made those Florida State preview videos saying they might win 8 or 9 games, and they told me I was an idiot and they were winning 10, 11, 12, whatever it was. Based on that, Florida State, guess what? Your season is over. Now come back to the UNCLELOU comment section and apologize to me. Clown college. Let me stop. Oregon, South Carolina, Florida State. Who's left? Oh, yeah. Tennessee. Jesus. Worst point spread loss for an SEC team in 40 years. 26-point favorite in most places Tennessee was. Fans were gone at halftime. I've seen the Fire Pruitt stuff everywhere I've looked, and it's not just Tennessee fans trolling or overreacting. They're dead serious. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube videos. There is. I'm going to say this about Tennessee, and this is dead serious. This isn't trolling either. There are some really, really serious problems at Tennessee right now, and it's a culture issue there. It appears to people who aren't emotionally attached. It's hard for fans to kind of see what's going on sometimes with the team. It's clear to everyone else that team is not playing for Jeremy Pruitt. They're not playing for that power T on the helmet. They're not playing for Jeremy Pruitt. They're not playing for the University of Tennessee. Those players are playing for the name on the back of their jersey. You don't have a team. I hate to sound like Lyle here, Butch Jones, but in this case, he hit the nail on the head. You guys have a group of individuals. You do not have a team. They gave up against Georgia State. They literally gave up. The fans gave up at halftime, and what few remained gave up real quick near the end of the fourth quarter. But the fans gave up, the players gave up, and worst of all, the coaches gave up. Jeremy Pruitt just has this glazed over look on his face, deer in headlights. He didn't seem bothered that his team was getting absolutely manhandled by Georgia State. And I'm not talking about the score. I'm talking about watch the game. Georgia State's offensive line embarrassed Tennessee's defensive line, and vice versa. Georgia State's defensive line embarrassed Tennessee's offensive line. Tennessee couldn't run the ball. Jarrett Garantano looked terrible. The defense just got gashed time and time and time and time again. And by the midway through the fourth quarter of that game, there wasn't a single player on that Tennessee roster who wanted to be on that field. Not one. And that is a big, big problem. Tennessee has not been really good for a while, but even the last few coaches that you hired, which, 2-3 years after you hire them, you're constantly claiming they were the worst coach ever. Y'all are, still with the hashtag blame Dooley, blame Kiffin, blame Butch, blame Lyle. Time to blame Pruitt for this one, because at least those terrible coaches were terrible in their first year. They weren't very good in their second year, but they improved. 5 wins in Butch's case, 5 wins first year, 7 wins the second year. They, of course, went on to win 9 games his third year before falling off the face of the earth after that. But Jeremy Pruitt, I think Tennessee had 18 returning starters. Year 2 under Pruitt. How can you come out and look this bad week 1 against a team? There's not one player on that team Tennessee would have offered a scholarship to out of high school. Not one. Not one. That's not to say Georgia State doesn't have any good players, and this isn't, I'm not here to knock Georgia State, but there's a reason why this was one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Okay, Georgia State didn't even have a football program 9 years ago. Okay, they formed their football program in 2010. They didn't become an FBS team until 2013. They've never beat a Power 5 team. They won 2 games last year and finished dead last in a terrible Sun Belt conference. They were predicted by everybody with a heartbeat to be last in that conference again this year. Again, I'm not bashing Georgia State here. Obviously, they had some players that were able to make some plays yesterday. That quarterback looked pretty good. There ain't a single player on that team that Tennessee would have recruited, and you got absolutely whipped. And that's coaching. And those 2 things to me are the most worrisome thing if I'm a Tennessee fan. Fans giving up, coaches giving up, and players giving up. In week 1, in August, unacceptable. And number 2, zero improvement in year 1 to 2 under Jeremy Pruitt, when year 1 was absolutely terrible. Now, sure, a coach can regress in a year if you win 9, 10, 11 games. Okay, you go 10-2, the next year you go 8-4. Sure, you got a little worse there, but you started at 10. You went 5-7 last year. Your last 2 games of the season last year, you got absolutely humiliated. 2 blowouts. What was it, Missouri and Vandy, right? Blowout losses, humiliated. How the coaches weren't able to take those 2 blowout losses and keep the team prepared and motivated and working hard throughout the summer to come out and be ready for a week 1 game against Georgia State is absolutely mind-boggling. And this isn't even a case of getting caught looking ahead to the next game or something, because your first 3 games were against nobodies. This one, UAB and BYU, whatever. So you guys were wore out. I mean, in the fourth quarter, Georgia State was more prepared than you, more physical than you. They were in better shape than you, more well-conditioned than you, way better coached than you. And those are the 2 most worrisome things. They have to be if you're a Tennessee fan. That the coaches appeared to give up. Like I said, no emotion on the sideline or the post-game press conference. I mean, the fans obviously gave up. I don't blame the fans. I really don't. That product that Tennessee... I said one time when Georgia got blown out at home by Alabama 5 or 6 years ago, I went on one of those videos that went viral during Mark Richt's last years, and I said the University of Georgia should mail a refund to every single fan who was in attendance at that game, because the product that Georgia put on the field that day was not what the fans paid for, and Tennessee should do the exact same thing. If you saved your ticket stub from that game, you should mail it in to the Tennessee Athletic Department with a note demanding a refund, not just for the cost of the ticket, but extra money for your time and aggravation. And I'm dead serious about that. I clown Tennessee a lot. There's no excuse for a program like Tennessee to put a product like that on the field that loses. This wasn't a fluke. I mean, they were a better team than you. They were better coached. The players wanted it more. The players were more in shape. They were more prepared. They were more athletic. They were more physical. I mean, they just whipped you in every way. There's no excuse for Tennessee putting a product like that on the field. And as fans, I'm dead serious here, you should not accept that. You should not accept that, and you should do something. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you mail your ticket stub in and write a pissed off letter, that it's going to amount to anything meaningful in terms of the administration or Philip Fulmer going, oh, you know what, they're right, let's actually mail them a refund. But you need to let them know that that product they put on the field is absolutely unacceptable. But look, Tennessee, your season is over. I had you at 7-5. I don't see any way you get to 7 wins now. And the possibility of you starting 0-7 is a real one, okay? If you lose to you could lose. The team that I saw yesterday will lose to UAB and BYU. Guess who your next 4 games are after that? Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and I think South Carolina. South Carolina, I mean, they'll beat you too with what I saw yesterday. 0-7, I mean, this is just, it's really mind-numbing. And this isn't even me talking trash about Tennessee, because I said this yesterday. I feel truly bad for the diehard Tennessee fans. I really do. When I talk trash on this channel, whether it's about Tennessee or anybody, it's not personal. Trash talk is sort of just a part of college football to me. I legitimately feel bad for Tennessee fans. Not because I expected them to win the East or anything like that, but what happened yesterday is just such a disappointment. Year 2 in Jeremy Pruitt. People were all in with this Jeremy Pruitt. Now, I was never sold on him as a head coach, okay? And that was dead serious. I don't think I've said it a million times, he's not a people person. And it looks to me like the players don't like him very much. But anyway, I really feel bad, and you guys shouldn't accept it. You really shouldn't. All right, let me wrap this up. It's getting too long. Those are the 4 teams. The season is over. Here's who scraped by and almost got on this list. But they won, okay? Iowa State won 29-26 to what, Northern Iowa? And Iowa State's supposed to be a dark horse in the Big 12. 29-26, and I think that game went to overtime. Pitiful. No excuse. Good thing that game was played at home, or Iowa State would have lost. West Virginia 20-13 over James Madison. Embarrassing and sad. I tried to warn the West Virginia fans about this season. It's going to be an abject disaster. Minnesota was losing to South Dakota State. That's not North Dakota. North Dakota State's the team that wins all those national titles, FCS. Not that team. South Dakota State. Minnesota was, I thought P.J. Fleck was the greatest coach since Vince Lombardi. Throw that out the window. He ended up winning 28-21, but it took a late fourth quarter miracle touchdown to get that. Nebraska 35-21 over South Alabama. Disappointing. You should have blown them out, and Adrian Martinez had less than 200 total yards passing and rushing. Forget about him for the Heisman. And after what I saw from Wisconsin, you can forget about Nebraska competing in the Big Ten West this year, too. Nebraska clearly the best team in the Big Ten West and could be the best team in the entire Big Ten. All right, who was the best teams I saw this weekend? I do this at the end of all these Sunday videos. In no particular order, here's the most impressive teams I saw this weekend. No particular order. Bama, Clemson, Georgia, Wisconsin. Those are the 4 most impressive teams to me, okay? Anyway, Alabama unsuspended, you know how they had their players suspended for the first half? Then they couldn't score a point against Duke in the first quarter. Unsuspended them in the second quarter. Alarming. Georgia, no offense in the second half. It seemed like even the best 3 teams, Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson, struggled in some areas. Trevor Lawrence didn't look great for Clemson, even though they won big. Alabama struggled in the first quarter, even though they won big. Georgia couldn't score a touchdown in the second half, even though they won big and struggled in the passing game. Might be a good thing, though, for these 3 teams because it gives the coaches something to yell at the kids about and go back and get ready. But anyway, the top 3 teams looked like the best 3 teams. And honestly, Wisconsin looked like a scary team, too. I know they played South Florida, but if you're in the Big Ten, you better watch out for Wisconsin. Shout out to Justin Fields and Jacob Eason. Combined, almost 700 yards and 9 touchdowns between the 2 of them. A lot of mad Georgia fans. Jacob Eason and Justin Fields ain't never going to be no good. Yeah, both of them had a better game yesterday.